Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. It's probably been like a week or two since I've gotten to sit at this computer and use my mask. I always miss it. Like, sometimes I record on the other computer and I have just like a PNG of my little mouse mascot, and seeing it not move when I talk kind of throws me off. I don't know. I just think it's the fun in being a PNG tuber is watching this little 3D mouse move as if it's almost like stop motion or something. It kind of, if anything, makes me more excited to do movie reviews. Anyway, today I'm talking about the Beatles animated movie Yellow Submarine, which I've kind of always known existed. I just never got around to watching it or anything, and I finally did. It's pretty good. It kind of reminds me of like the Raggedy Ann and Andy Richard Williams animated movie from like the 70s. I think it's from like 1977, that I was like absolutely obsessed with for a solid like 2 to 3 weeks when I found out about it and watched it. And it kind of reminds me in terms of how zany and wacky and weird, not just like the character designs in both movies, but also just the complete absurdity of the plot and all the weird characters they meet and stuff, and especially just I think like the style of like the animation too. But with this one, it's like way more kind of trippy almost in terms of the way things, like the animation in both is great, but like in terms of more how flowy this one is, I mean like flowy in terms of like characters will morph from one form into another with ease, where a person will turn into something else or into an animal or whatever. Sometimes they use like photographs in this too, and it's pretty cool. Like, I can't really tell you much about the plot. I kind of forgot what it was as I was watching the movie, but I can say the animation's great. I mean, it's the Beatles, so it's gonna be a fun time. It's kind of funny looking at them in animated form, where it matches them so well, but it also looks so like exaggerated in a sense. I don't know, especially the haircuts are kind of funny too. They almost have the art style, and I'm looking at them on this poster of like, they feel like they should be in a comic book or something. This movie, it's basically like a visual form of like the Yellow Submarine album. Like literally, if you Google the songs from this movie, it'll be in the form of like it'll be snippets from this movie, but it'll be as if it was like an animated music video. This movie is basically like one really long music video of Yellow Submarine, or one of those, what is it called now, the like the visualizations of the albums or whatever. I didn't realize that until like a while in as I was watching, and I'm like, they're having these songs in a specific order. Like, it's been a minute since I've listened to Yellow Submarine. Actually, it's kind of nice timing though, because I'm at the time I watched this movie, my folks and I have been listening to a bunch of Beatles CDs while we've been eating dinner and stuff, so Beatles has kind of been on my mind. Anyway, alright, I'm gonna go to my notes. I only have like a page of notes. I've started using Google Docs for my notes again, so that's kind of nice, where I don't have to sit there and like try and stare at my phone. Let's see, and I'm just gonna talk about like wacky parts that I thought were cool rather than like summarize. Oh no, I mentioned about characters. There's these blue characters called the Meanies. They're kind of a bit loud and annoying. I think they have some pretty goofy character designs. I didn't really like them though, because I think the plot, from what I remember, is they show up in this like super colorful town that's like not Earth, and they turn everybody into like stone or something, and then the Beatles get recruited by some guy who controls the Yellow Submarine, which is like a flying submarine, and the Beatles have to figure out how to save everybody, and I think they end up in outfits kind of like Sergeant Pepper's by the end. I don't remember if it's like they become like a new persona, but they save everybody with music, so that's pretty cool. and they go on this wacky adventure in their submarine. Like, I think the first one that gets recruited is Ringo. There's a part when the yellow submarine is kind of following him around the city as if it was sentient, and it's like hiding behind buildings and stuff. That was pretty funny. And then Ringo ends up finding Frankenstein somehow, apparently having dated not Frankenstein like Dr. Frankenstein. It's the creature. It's Frankenstein's monster. I literally have just been watching like Frankenstein movies this entire year, and I just wrote Frankenstein in my notes. But no, it's Frankenstein's monster apparently has a sister in this universe that Ringo dated, and then Frankenstein's monster ends up drinking a potion and then literally turns into John Lennon, and that's how they recruit him. And like, keep in mind that like Frankenstein's monster in this is like freaking huge and also kind of like metal looking, and then like he's made out of metal, and then he just shrinks down and becomes John. That was kind of goofy. I think they end up finding Paul next. They find him in like a hallway with a bunch of doors where it turns into like some kind of Scooby-Doo gag. I don't remember how they end up finding George. They find them in this really wacky place. Anyway, I'll talk about specific songs too, like for the part with All Together Now. It's cool seeing the ocean, and the submarine is like really small, and it looks kind of almost 3D the way the submarine will like turn around and kind of go more into the background, and it's like going through rocks and stuff. This movie can also be like a little creepy. Oh wait, no, there's one part I forgot to mention about that happens before this. I think it's before the Beatles actually become part of the plot. There's the song Eleanor Rigby, and it uses a bunch of like photos of actual people, and they're like placed around a town. It's kind of weird, but it's also kind of cool. Anyway, there's some like kind of creepy empty parts as well, where there's one where like the characters go into this dark void in the submarine and they turn into children, and there's all of these weird statues, but then they like go forward in time and they turn into like really old men. They like age super fast, and then you get the song when I'm 64, which the reason they turn into old men is I think they find another version of themselves that they pass by in their submarine, and it causes some kind of time fuckery or whatever that like ages them really fast. But the When I'm 64 segment's cool. I think that's when that's when I started paying more attention to the movie. I actually kind of watched part of it twice. I like started it in my computer, and then I didn't finish it, and then I didn't get very far, and then I started it again on my laptop at some point. But anyway, the When I'm 64 segment's cool, where there's these giant shoes that like step to the beat of the song, and there's all these like bouncy clocks, but it's such a good song in general. I love that it's just a ship that's going through all of these like huge areas, and there's this one part where it's showing individual numbers that are supposed to be counting to a minute, but it ends up counting to the number 64, and the numbers are like super stylized. It looks really cool, and it gets like weirder and more abstract as the number count is getting higher, where it starts out where they just look like normal colorful numbers, and then they start the individual parts of the numbers start becoming like faces and animals and getting really freaky, and it's to show you like how long a minute is or whatever. That was cool. The art style of this movie, specifically like the shading in the art, kind of reminds me like the art itself in this movie doesn't really remind me of like Raggedy Ann. It's more like the absurdity of this movie, and character designs remind me of Raggedy Ann, but just specifically that one Raggedy Ann animated movie, or like the parts when they go into like a dark void and there's all these weird things around them or whatever. But the art style itself of the movie, and specifically the shading, it reminds me of this, I don't remember what country the movie's from. I thought it was French, but I'm not sure. Let me look it up, actually. I don't want to say the wrong thing, and I'll tell you what the movie is. So it's called Fantastic Planet. It's also like a super old animated movie. Yeah, it's from 1973. Okay, it's Czech. Interesting. Why did I think it was French? It's like this really weird surrealist movie, but it has like kind of a similar art style to that, which I think, and kind of a similar vibe too. I wrote in my notes, watching this movie is like watching the Raggedy Ann movie, but on drugs. It's just that weird. But I feel like this one is weirder than the Raggedy Ann movie. I think I can say that now that I've like actually finished it. There's this one part where they spin around. Oh no, there's a part, the song Nowhere Man. There's a character in this movie who they just refer to as the Nowhere Man. He's like this small dude. I was gonna say he's a little guy, but he doesn't give like little guy energy, He's just a small man, and he spins. They sing Nowhere Man, and they meet the Nowhere Man, and he spins around on this like big circle in this white void. That was cool. It's like a cool shot where it's like he's spinning the Nowhere Man on this big circle, and the Beatles are on the other side of the circle, and they're facing each other, the Beatles and the Nowhere Man, and they're like spinning as if they're like on top of a record or something. I really liked that part. And then I think when they finish, or like as they're singing the song, when the Beatles are singing and they're walking around, they like summon these patterns and colors as they walk, like the patterns and colors pop up behind them. That visually was also really cool. I know that's like a thing sometimes in things, movies, shows, whatever, where like a character walks and there's like music behind them or flowers or whatever. I always think that looks pretty cool, especially because there's so many areas in this movie that are just like these white voids of like nothing except for maybe like a dude or whatever. I mean, that's basically the setting for when the song takes place, and the Beatles are singing and they're summoning all these colors and stuff. And it's almost kind of like foreshadowing of like later on when they try to fight the meanies with the power of song or whatever, and they restore color to the land with their singing. Oh yeah, the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is also in this movie. The animated part for that is like one of the trippiest animated things I've ever seen, where it almost ends up being a little too much actually, where it's like these illustrations of women, and I swear they keep changing colors, like their entire body will be like different colors like every second, where it's just like a bit too much. Like, I'm not sensitive to that sort of thing. I just wanted to bring that up. Like, it looked really cool, but it was almost like tone it down a little. But I get it and stuff. And I mean, with the lyrics of the songs about like, what is it, like marmalade trees and marshmallow skies or whatever, you'd expect it, the visuals accompanying it, to be really colorful, but it was like a little much. And I do think the ending is a bit silly, where like the Beatles become the like Sgt. Pepper's band, but I do like it, and they sing and they like chase the meanies away and stuff. And then I like how during their last song, All Together Now, it's just like, and it's, I think before the credits or as the credits are playing or something, it's just like goofy footage of the like Beatles doing silly things as their IRL selves. And it's nice that they have the words, not all the lyrics to that song, but just the words All Together Now. They pop up in different languages at the end. I thought that was pretty neat. But yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on the whole movie. I always like finding old animated movies like this, where it just gets really bizarre, especially with like the animation and stuff. I kind of miss stuff like this. Like Raggedy Ann and this movie have that vibe. If you guys have more movie recommendations of old animated movies that are like just as absurd, maybe it'll be ones I haven't seen yet. I don't know. Like I mentioned Fantastic Planet, but that was more of like an art style thing. That one, I mean, that movie is kind of weird, but it's not the kind of thing I'm like looking for. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like if you've seen some of these movies I'm talking about, you might kind of get what I'm trying to say. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think there's another Beatles movie. I think they have one that's called Help, but it's like live action. I don't think I've heard like super great things about it though, so I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. But this one was cool. Yeah. Alrighty, see you next time. Bye bye.